do today is we're going to convert a solid axle three-wheeler, specifically the Tri-Glide. We're going to use a lot of the Tri-Glide components in the unit that we're going to build. One of the components is going to be the differential, along with its spring gear and its pulley, along with the clamps that hold it in place, the axle and stud nuts that hold the wheel on, the belt adjusting screws, the cross shaft that goes through the transmission, obviously, to put the swinging arm on. The only modifications that we're going to do in this whole situation is going to be to the rear body mount, the subframe. This subframe we're going to send off to the welding shop, and we're going to have them put these Z brackets in. These Z brackets are going to do two things. They're going to give us suspension clearance, and they're going to provide a place where we can put our sway bar on. That's what's going to be next. We're going to take you through that like a step-by-step as we go on. That'll be what we see next. So to install these Z brackets, it's going to give us this situation. We want to remove the paint in the area where we're going to weld. Okay. So then we go a half-inch above our line, maybe half-inch that way, but remove all of that paint in the welding area. We also have to remove the gussets so that the bracket fits snugly and in the proper position. It's going to be flush to the back of this tube, flush to the bottom of this tube, and then weld it in place. So the piece itself is going to be our welding fixture. And then once the Z bracket has been welded in place, then we'll go back and remove the excess tubing, and that'll give us the clearance that we need to perform this particular operation. We'll watch it as it's being done. Okay, so the first step in preparation of putting the Z brackets in is to grind the areas that we talked about, which is partially getting rid of the gusset and get the areas clean for where you're going to do your welding. So we're going to gauge off the bottom, this flat plate being the bottom. We're going to gauge off the back of the tube. Everything's cut nice and square. All you got to do is get it where it's going and weld it up, weld all the way around, weld all the way around. Same thing on the other side. Once you've ground them off, these fit in here really nice. All you really got to do is gauge off that backside, tack it all up, and then weld it. Now we're going to do that next, and then when we get done with that, we'll show you how we're going to cut it out, and we'll see the finished product. The next thing we're going to do is go to the welding department. Okay, so Dave, we've got this welded up partially. We got it partially done. As we talked about, where we cleaned it all up, welded it in all these areas. We neglected to weld here. We neglected to weld here on purpose so that we can go back and cut all of this area out, grind it up, and then come back and finish the welding. But this is basically what we feel it should look like. Okay, you want to get as much weld on your bracket as possible. If you feel you want to go back here later on and box it or whatever, I don't think it's really necessary. But if you wish, that's up to your prerogative here to build. Okay, we're going to go back and I'm going to cut this out and show you how it looks like before we finish welding. Okay, Dave, take that back to the welding shop. Funny, Dave. All right, let's lay it up on the corner so you can see what we've done. It's completely welded up. This is the section that was cut out. Matter of fact, let me go get that real quick. You see exactly what we pulled out of there. This is that section that came out of there. It was out real quick. Plenty of weld all the way around. Get a good shot of that. See there? See all of it? Okay. So now while that cools down, we'll give it a paint job, and later on, that's one of the last things we're going to put on, but now it's out of the way and we're ready to go. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to install the bearing set that we took out of the swing arm off the original motorcycle. So we're going to go over to a presser. We're going to put these babies in here and move along. It's the first stage in putting the swinging arm on. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, obviously, is going to drop these in. We're going to put a little something underneath there to elevate that. Drop the bearing in. Make sure it's square. Put a socket, appropriate socket on top of it. We're going to press down. We like to do this with a press. Imagine you can get in there with a hammer or whatever, but a press is most suitable. Square it up under the press. Okay. Put it over. Making sure that it's sticking out. Just that so very little bit. That make sure the bearing's working properly. Okay. Next. Good. Excellent. Now you go back to the bike. Okay, the next step is going to be to install our swinging arm. Make sure that your spacer is inside the other side. Okay. Fit up around the transmission. Be careful as to. There we go. And slide our axle in. We look on that side, Dave? We need to go up or what?
Up with the trans. Good.
Still no?
No.
There we go.
Down just a little bit.
Down?
No, back up, sorry.
Okay.
A little bit. Good.
Okay. Lift you. Make sure you put the counterboard washer in the proper way. Always make sure that you have the motor mount in the proper location. In other words, the notch lined up. Tighten down our opposite frame. So that our motor mounts don't move. In place nicely. Position the motor. Okay, Dave, you ready to go on that side?
Yep.
Okay, let's tighten that nut up. Hang on there. Good. Good. Okay, we're going to make sure that our swing arm moves freely. So we got good travel. Nothing's bound up, but yet it's tight. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a 1-inch spacer and a 1/4 20 by 2 bolt, and we're going to place it underneath the brake line manifold. We're going to screw it into this drill and tapped hole in the swinging arm. Basically because that's a difficult thing to get to later on. So we want to take care of it now. And give us a situation that's comfortable later on in the build. Okay. Position it nicely. The next part we're going to install is the other half of the swinging arm. This is an adjustable swing arm so we get nice and centered in the chassis. We want to have these 2 holes over here, which are later on going to be supporting our parking brake bracket. We're going to take 3/8 16 by 1 screws, lock washers, and loosely place them in the drill and tapped holes. In the 3 positions. leaving them snug, but loose enough that we could move the swing arm back and forth. This is going to fine tune our center. Okay, we've got this adjustable piece in place. And we're going to, I kind of like this spot over here on the where the body mount goes. We're going to take a measurement from the outside to a given. In this case, we're using a 1-inch square blade. I'm going to try 3/4 and see what 3/4 gives us. Nice. What do you got, dude? And I have 3/4. Good. We're ready to go. Now we're going to tighten up our swing arm, our adjustable swing arm. And the reason for this is so that we get centered in the chassis nicely, which is relevant to belt placement, wheelbase width, you know, all of those things. So we're going to tighten those up, all three of them. And once we've done that, we're going to double check our number to make sure it hasn't moved. Let's take a look at that number again, Dave. Did not move. Beautiful. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to install these top mount hangers with a 1/2 13 bolt into the part of the frame that's, I don't know what it was meant for originally, but we're picking it up as a mount. We're going to put that in there just loosely for now. Put one on the other side as well, and that's going to be in preparation for our main assembly, which we're going to install next. Unlike the original one that we showed you for putting the top mounts on, some of the later model ones don't have the boss sticking out that has the 1/2 13 hole. It's actually a 1/4 inch hole with no threads in it. So what you'll have to do is drill that hole to 27/64 and tap it to 1/2 13. Then we would add spacer, 2.5 inch bolt into our hole, creating the same number that is necessary, making sure that offset hole is to the bottom.